Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is the Imaginator. Welcome to my review of One Piece Manga Chapter 1019. The title of this One Piece Manga chapter is called Triceratops. The Frankie and Sasuke fight was the highlight of the chapter overall, but there are obviously some other events that occurred throughout the chapter that were just as interesting, in my opinion. The such as Sanji and Judge's fight resuming at the beginning of the chapter, and then we have the animal minks still attempting to inject the drug needle inside of Zoro so he can be brought back in good condition and be a lot stronger than he was previously. And then we shift to a panel scene where at a location that's somewhere in the Sea of Wano, which is called a Polar Tang, that the Hard Pirates and Luffy were located, and we see the Hard Pirates attempting to, well, pretty much checking on Luffy to see he's okay, and they was going to attempt to do an injection on him, which I found kind of cool and hilarious because the fact that two of the strongest members were going to both get injected, but one of them does instead of the other. Then the first thing that comes out of Luffy's mouth when he becomes cautious and since his big second round against Kaido, well, his second round fight against Kaido was meat, which I found pretty hysterical and typical because obviously that's what Luffy's about. Outside fighting, he thinks about meat. So I thought that was obviously funny. I believe that was pretty funny. And then we shift back to Onigashima, where the majority chapter is that the chapter is mainly about, and we see Frankie and the Sasuke fight. The first thing that Suzuki does while he's in his dinosaur form is basically take out a sword, and it's kind of like a screw sword basically. He calls it upon the name of the sword, and then it starts spinning rapidly, really fast. And then as his screw sword was spinning really fast and rapidly, he does a technique where his neck spins. So basically, everything he does is really to spin, which is kind of cool but kind of hysterical at the same time. And he does the first big technique he does is Heliceratops, which is kind of cool and funny, and that's actually the name of the actual chapter. So I really enjoy that connection there. That was pretty dope. And then he pretty much attacks his allies, his former allies, who are now Frankie's allies, due to them being affected by Altama's Devil power. And then we see that Frankie, well, he does, not Frankie, Satsuki does like another, three other big techniques, two of the same and one different one. He does a bullet Triceratops, which the first one actually does make contact with Frankie. Like Frank in his general robot body was able to block it successfully, but the power of the technique was so great that Frankie was saying that his shoulder-loaded rockets were about to blow up, which they kind of did. And Frankie pulls out his sword and basically attempting to use it against Suzuki. But then obviously Suzuki's sword actually broke his sword, and Frankie retreats. And then Sasuke does another bullet Triceratops. This time, though, Frankie avoids it and actually uses a Gaia cannon called General Cannon, which flew Sasuke really high and far. And we see that Sasuke in his dinosaur form uses another big technique, which I think was his final technique, called Magnum Triceratops. No, Magnum Triceratops. And this one actually does connect with the General Frankie, and it was so powerful, but the impact was so powerful that it penetrated through Frankie's General Frankie's robotic body. And Frankie used this opportunity to get out of his robot that he created and use the radical beam, and the radical beam successfully hits. Well, not only successfully hits Sasuke, but also knocks him out for the count, thus making Frankie the winner. And then we got the last portion of the chapter where we have Yamato and Kaido fighting at the top of the rooftop. Well, basically on the rooftop on Onigashima. And Kaido, they had an exchange of dialogue, and Kaido saying, "Well, you obviously are like one of my soldiers. Well, I see you as a recognizable soldier." And Yamato goes on and saying that no matter how many times I try to defeat you, you know, I attempted to kill you as much as I can count, and as much as I can count that you defeated me all those times, and I got stronger since then. And she said that's not the only reason why the handcuffs that she wore earlier in the arc aren't the only reason why she uh, couldn't get out. That prevent her from leaving Wano. Well, that weren't the one that would prevent her from leaving Wano. And Yamato say I have to fight for if I don't fight for the sake of this country, then I can't call myself Odin, and that's the end of the chapter. I thought overall this chapter, my thoughts on chapter raw, I thought this was a great chapter. I love the balance between dialogue and action. Well, the balance dialogue of action and comedy. Um, we see obviously the whole Zoro Neo injection thing when he was really infuriated, and then we get to Luffy where he's saying meat, and then obviously some of the historical techniques that Suzuki and Frankie were demonstrating throughout their battle overall. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's my review of One Piece Manga Chapter 1019. Hope y'all enjoy the video. Please give it a like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below about the chapter, and subscribe to my channel, The Imaginative, for more chapter reviews, anime discussions, and many more. With all that being said, fellow YouTubers, y'all all have a wonderful day.